Riaan, thank you very much for joining us. What makes mining dangerous?
When you go thousands of meters underground and you start drilling holes and blasting the rock out of place, that you create stresses in the rock strata. And although a lot has been done to understand those rock stresses and to put support structures and other safety measures in place, it's not perfect. Our knowledge is not perfect in that sense. And it still leads to fall of ground from time to time. And fall of ground is the leading cause of fatalities in the mining industry today. The other one, the second one perhaps, is the processes involved in the mining of the ore and the transportation of it. Mining and transportation accounts for the second largest fraction of fatalities. And you can think, when you have large and powerful machines working under harsh conditions in close proximity to people, both the operators and other people working in the vicinity, then sometimes accidents happen. And these are two of the leading causes. There are others as well. We don't necessarily need to go into all of them. It includes things like falling from heights, drowning, there's electricity incidents, fires can cause injury and fatality. So it is an environment that it is difficult to get away from all of those risk factors, and they need to be managed.
Has it always been like this?
Mining traditionally does not have a good reputation for workplace safety. But I think we must start by acknowledging the fact that there's been massive improvements in mine health and safety over the past 26 years since the start of democracy. The fatalities per year has reduced by 92%. And it's not just the absolute number. Even if we look at normalizing that by bringing into account the number of worker hours worked per year, even then the same trend holds true. So a lot of improvement has been made.
What has been done from a practical point to improve mine safety?
Sure, I think that's quite a big answer, but let me start by saying I think we have to acknowledge that it wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for the collaborative effort by all the stakeholders in the industry. So this includes the state, the Department of Minerals and Energy, Mineral Resources and Energy, the mining companies, the mine workers, and the unions. So maybe on the side of the state, first I could mention the promulgation of the Mine Health and Safety Act in 1996, which was quite a radical bit of legislation at its time. And then coupled with that, the establishment of regulatory structures like the Mine Health and Safety Inspectorate, responsible for inspecting and checking that legislation is adhered to. The Mine Health and Safety Council, and they have the function of advising the minister on appropriate legislation, and they also administer industry-wide research in mine health and safety and the dissemination of those research results. And then it's the the Mine Qualifications Authority, and they address the skills gaps that exist in mining from time to time. So these are some of the regulatory side interventions. And then there is, from the industry side, a lot of the good work that was being done by the Minerals Council. I can name an example there of the establishment of the Mine Occupational Safety and Health, or MOSH, Learning Hub. And what the MOSH Learning Hub is about is identifying among their member mining companies the leading practices that they can then take from those mines and implement and help other mines to implement leading practices in their works to improve health and safety.
The role of technology and how technology can be used to make mines safer.
I think technology, sure, has a massive role to play. When we just start thinking about our lives today and how our lives today are better and safer and more efficient in general than, let's say, 100 years ago, you will agree that technology has made that possible. There are also other softer sides to it, human aspects to it, but technology is integral to that. And when we then draw that through to mining, we realize that in the future, improvements in mine safety will have to rely on the implementation of appropriate technology and teamed together with the right attitudes and the right priorities to make the workplace safer.
I have to ask you a follow-up question on just how do you get the right attitude and how do you get the right priorities in place to make sure, because that for me sometimes is easier said than done, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, some time ago, there was the realization that exactly what you're saying now is all of this will not happen if you don't have the right culture in the organization. And that led to the forming and the wide adoption of what is called the culture transformation framework. And the culture transformation framework addresses exactly that. It recognizes that when people's attitudes change, when the culture in the organization change, then people will start acting differently towards occupational health and safety compliance issues. And this culture transformation framework really takes a practical approach and addresses some of these things that brings it home very practically for everyone in the mining industry. Let me give you one or two examples. There's the matter of incentives. It's no longer only production bonuses that drives people's behavior. You now have safety performance incentives and bonuses. And you can immediately see how that changes safety behavior. There's the implementation of more robust incident investigation and a drive to understand the root cause very well that enables the elimination of the risks at the source. And then there's the issue of leading from the top and top management walking the talk and leading by example to show that it's not just something on paper, but that it's something that becomes real across the organization from top to bottom.
As somebody who is a leader in this space, are you happy with the level of collaboration that's happening between mines? You talked about the ability to learn from one incident. We know that in the 70s, the airline industry en masse, in the biggest move towards safety, collaborated around best practices. And you can even see that now, that if there's a plane crash, all the other airlines can learn from that. Are you happy with the level of collaboration, or do you think there's still room for improvement?
I think we've come a long way. A lot of good progress has been made. I wouldn't say we're perfect, but let me give you an example of some of the progress that we are seeing in practice today. I've already mentioned the MOSH Learning Hub, and that is through the Minerals Council. So that is collaboration among mining companies. Many of the biggest mining companies are members of the Minerals Council, and they work together. And we, as a CSIR, work together with the Minerals Council, and so we can sense that collaboration that exists in that organization among different mining companies. Then there's the example of the Mandela Mining Precinct, a very good case of public-private partnership, where you have the Minerals Council funding together with the state, the Department of Science and Innovation, the Mandela Mining Precinct, and the Mandela Mining Precinct acting as the organizing and administrative hub for mining research, where they pull in all the big mining research and technology development players, and that includes academia, the CSIR and other science councils like the Council for Geoscience, and private companies active in mining research and technology development. Also the Mining Equipment Manufacturers Association, MEMSA. They are all pulled into this program of technology development for improvement of not only productivity in mining, but also safety.
There's something you mentioned a little bit earlier that really piqued my interest. You talked about the incentive bonuses or the incentive payouts, for how it's shifted from just production to also looking at safety aspects. Do you see more kind of innovation in that space? Like that was quite clever. Whoever came up with that was started realizing, but hold on, guys, if we change the structure a little, it has a different impact. Do you see more innovation in that space? Is there room for more innovation?
I think you can always improve. I think it's up to the mining operators, the companies that do the mining, that send people and contractors into the mining environment to take a look at it from time to time and see where have they made progress and where can they still improve.
Before we talk about just what the work that CSIR is doing in this space and through their projects, where are we in the global conversation? Where is South Africa in terms of safety practices when you compare us to other mining countries?
One must be careful when you start comparing, because not all mines are equal. Let me take the example of an open cast mine versus an underground mine. We have some open cast, but we have a lot of underground mine. We have some of the deepest underground mines in the world. And then when you go underground, if you have minerals that are deposited in high rock, thick rock strata, and that allows you to mine at a high ceiling height, it enables you to bring equipment mechanization into the workplace, where you can now have a piece of equipment working in the most dangerous part and being remotely operated. And it's quite easy, or I would say more conducive to implementing that type of technology. In South Africa, we have narrow tabular geological features, ore bodies that we mine. And that poses a challenge in itself. You now have less than a meter to put machines and people into a stope to drill and blast and get the mineral out in many of the mines. And that makes it challenging in itself. So I would say, in terms of the improvements we've made, we are probably, in certain aspects, leading in terms of what has been made possible for safety improvements compared to other mines, other countries that operate in the same conditions. But that's not to say that we are leaders worldwide. There's always room for improvement.
Riaan, so talk to me about the technologies that CSIR has developed.
Sam, there are quite a few, but let me just give you a few examples. There's, for example, the rock pulse instrument. Now, this is a piece of technology that is installed in the underground environment, and it continuously measures and monitor microseismic activity in the rock strata. And it gives the mine worker an early warning of potential fall of ground. You recall that I mentioned earlier that fall of ground is the leading cause of fatality. So we see this as a technology with a lot of potential. It is already being used in coal mining, and with some further development, there's also great potential for use in metalliferous mining. Another example would be the integrated thermal acoustic sounding device. So this device implements two different technologies. The one is an electronic sounding device capability. What this is when a mine worker needs to go into a working area after blasting, they need to first make it safe. And what this involves is they use a long pinch bar and they literally tap against the hanging wall to listen for loose rock. And if they find it, they need to bar it down to make it safe. Now this requires a trained ear, because when you tap against a solid piece of rock, it sounds different. Now the CSIR has developed a device that mimics the functioning of that trained ear and gives a signal when the rock is a loose rock. So this enables you to do it consistently and accurately, even if the person doing it does not have the benefit of many years of experience, or perhaps if the person doing it, if the person's hearing is for some reason not perfect, either on the day or in general. Now this technology is combined with a thermal imaging capability, where the instrument takes a thermal image of the hanging wall, and what you see is that rocks that are not firmly connected to the upper rock strata will be of a different temperature. They will be slightly cooler because underground the rock temperature is higher than ambient. So loose rock will tend to be cooler, and the thermal image helps to identify those potentially loose rocks. And that, together with the acoustic device, gives a consistent capability of detecting high-risk areas so that people can approach it with caution and not miss anything that is potentially dangerous. And maybe one more, there's the capability of using video analytics to detect in the driver of a vehicle distracted behavior. This is actually quite fascinating. When you and I look at a person driving a car, you can see when he's focused on the road or when he's looking at his mobile phone. Now, what this video analytics capability does is it uses a video feed of the driver, and it uses an algorithm to detect exactly that. The way that you can instantly spot when a person is acting in a distracted way, either looking down or looking at a phone or not paying attention to what's happening in front, this can be detected by the technology. And that, combined with the ability to use a similar but slightly different video analytics technique to take a forward view in front of the vehicle and detect possible obstacles that could lead to a collision. That enables the systems that it integrates with to either warn the driver or to take other action, autonomous action.
That sounds amazing. Obviously, all of this is in pursuit of this. Can we call it a dream? Can we call it a goal? Pursuit of zero harm. Just talk to me about that.
Yeah, the zero harm objective that has been adopted across the mining industry is a very powerful vision. It's a powerful phrase, because what do we say when we say zero harm? I mean, we can talk about occupational health and safety, and you can break that down into all its different aspects, and it can become quite technical quite quickly. But when we say zero harm, that's something that we can all understand instinctively. It just means that the goal is for every worker to return home every day safely.
On that note, Riaan, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time.